All right. And we're live. Welcome to the last episode of season 1, because I actually know how these seasons work now. So this week we're going to kick off the last episode in our season finale, talking about fantasy tropes and just some of our favorites, our least favorites, just having a little bit of fun with it. So let's go and roll to those credits. Alright, we're back. Of course, kept the crew that I started with. They're no longer chained to the table. We'll see what happens next season. Again, I have Alyssa. I want to thank you all so much for joining me this season, by the way. This is kind of like... I know, Tessa, you were kind of like last minute addition, and I couldn't be happy.
Guests on the show, like, do you just want to come back and just keep doing this? Do you just want to talk about nerdy stuff with us every Thursday? Yes, I do.
Yes.
Do you want to stay here forever?
Don't answer her.
I'm not going to eat the pomegranate seeds.
So
You already have the horns.
So, of course, this week we're going to be talking about fantasy tropes, like I said. But first, we do have a little bit more, nothing to follow up on, sadly, but we do have something that's actually kind of really cool and right up our alley, and a lot of our viewers. For local news, we've got the Texas LGBTQ needs assessment going on right now. Alyssa can tell us a little bit more about it.
It's being effectively hosted by the Houston-based Texas Pride Impact Funds. So it's through an online survey, which is quite nice. It makes it very accessible to everyone, as long as you can get internet. But there's many ways to do that. I found actually personally going through it works both on desktop and mobile, which is great. So it's Texas's first statewide LGBTQ needs assessment. And it focuses on family issues, health issues, legal issues, discrimination, economic issues, safety issues, and other issues related to community service and services available in the community to the community. So we should have, in about 2 minutes, I think, posting a link to the article on our Facebook page. And the survey access link is at the very, very bottom.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to be fun. I haven't taken it yet, simply because I've been running around like a chicken with her head cut off all week. Real life gets crazy sometimes, and this is definitely one of those weeks where I'm just like, I don't want real life. I want my fantasy. Which is a nice little seg into what we're doing today. See, I'm clever sometimes.
Nice
segue there.
Speaking of segues.
So, we're finishing off with our fantasy tropes. Just kind of having fun with it, because we know fantasy. We know that sometimes it is the most cliche, troperific fodder out there, almost as bad, maybe even worse than sci-fi, and sci-fi can have some tropes. But we also appreciate a good subversion, or when the tropes are done really, really well. So, I'm gonna open up the floor. What are some of y'all... Let me try speaking that again. What are some of y'all's favorite tropes?
Well, there's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. So one thing that's kind of become a trope is to completely invert the tropes. And that can be really bad or really funny. It's not often just good, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it goes too far the other way.
Okay, my example on that one, because I do have something to say about that one. I love my princesses. I grew up in a Disney princess household. Yeah, tucking the princess into armor, making her a powerful warrior woman. Okay, I like that. But now we're kind of skewing too much towards that direction. I want
Well, then
every now and then a princess.
this trope of completely inverting the trope tends to shove the princess in armor, have her be extremely uncouth, have no good social skills. It's the opposite. It's the complete opposite, and we want a happy medium.
Yeah, I want my princess who's a princess. She may not be able to wield a sword, but she knows how to take care of herself. My favorite example of this, Mercedes Lackey, and the title's gone out the window. But Mercedes Lackey in general, in her 500 Kingdoms stuff, is pretty good about playing to trope cleverly.
Right. Breaking it in a very good way. And actually, on that same note, one of my favorite things in the graphic novel world is Princess Ugg. And it takes the princess trope and then the inverted princess trope and smushes it together through different characters interacting, and things change. And it's quite good in the end. So you have the two sides that, of course, they're going to clash, but it makes some positive changes in direction in that area.
It does start off kind of troperific in both sides, but those tropes work to their advantage because they do learn and grow from each other.
A princess isn't useless. She has lots of skills. They're social skills and, very, very much diplomatically focused. That doesn't mean that there's no point to her existence.
Yeah. Basically, she's saying she can be feminine, but she doesn't have to necessarily be a damsel in distress if she's feminine. I mean, she's like, that's all that we ask.
Yes.
And its femininity isn't a downside.
No.
At all.
Diplomats are cool.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a favorite example of this particular trope or trope inversion?
Trope inversion? I like good witches. Those are always fun. Like the really scary looking witches that end up being good.
Super nice.
Yeah.
Feed you baked goods that don't poison you.
Yeah, doesn't try to bake you in an oven. I don't know. I think it's fun when you have the roguish knight who's fallen from grace and is kind of like a cad. Those guys, those guys are always fun.
Han Solo.
Yeah. I like the roguish types.
And while technically Star Wars should be classified as sci-fi,
It has
truly,
a lot of fantasy elements.
It's truly a fantasy
And
at
if
heart.
we want to lean into it, a western. So.
A bit, yeah.
A little bit. It's there.
We'll talk about something that plays to trope and not at the same time.
It's like, let's just do a mashup of all the things. God, what else is good? I don't know. I hadn't really leaned into the whole trope theme for tonight. I was mostly just super stoked about the new Dark Crystal series.
Yes.
I think my note is Netflix is bringing Skeksis back with the Dark Crystal series.
And that does some good moderation of tropes as well. That with the original film,
Evil, scary vulture things, and
Yes.
yeah, the Skeksis.
but not all of them are bad.
What, the Skeksis?
There's one. He's
He's
all right.
He's still pretty evil.
Okay, but he's not as bad as the others.
They got dark, twisted hearts. Anyways, but there was talk of back in 2006 they were going to do a sequel movie instead of the series. Back in 2006, it was going to be called. What was my note saying here, real quick? Power of the Dark Crystal, I believe, is what that was called. And it was going to be centered around a fire sprite that was going with an outcast gelfling to restart the heart of their planet, which was dying, and they were going to take like a piece of the Dark Crystal shard and like restart the core of the planet, which was going to be a sequel. No, that was a prequel, I believe. Hold on. No, wait, yeah, that was a sequel, and the Netflix series is going to be a prequel. And I don't know if we got too much information on what it's going to be about, but I know that Brian Froud, who did a lot of the design on the original one, is attached to it. One of the not so great parts is it's going to be directed by Louis Leterrier? French name. But anyways, he worked on Now You See Me and The Incredible Hulk. So I don't know. Like, it was one of the better Hulks.
We have hope.
The Incredible Hulk, wasn't the greatest Marvel movie, but it was definitely the better Hulk movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know how I feel. I feel good that Brian Froud's attached, but the director, I'm kind of iffy on.
It's, if there's another name I'm seeing there that is attached to the series, I actually do have hope because he might be able to balance it out. Gendy Tartakovsky.
Oh, that was that was going to be in the sequel.
That was- okay, then.
Gendy was going to be attached
Right.
to the sequel if they're still going to do it. I don't know.
So
Oh, hopefully.
I think
Hopefully he
it's
kinda
a
comes in
matter
a
of
little
wait
bit
and
the
see
series. Yeah.
on that one. But
Because I have a lot of faith in Gendy Tartakovsky because he was half of my childhood.
Yeah.
And talk about
And then he married Lauren Faust, the other half of my childhood.
Oh yeah. Wow, talk about
Power
Are they
couple.
the American version of what's his name and
Neil Gaiman?
no the that too. Sailor Moon and Yu Yu Hakusho, those two.
I don't think they're
have not-
American. I think they're Canadian.
Oh,
Our neighbors
Even
to the
better.
north.
if they are Canadian, more power to you.
Yeah, they were still talking about doing there for a while a
Not
Labyrinth
sure.
sequel too.
Not 100%.
I think
There's
it's still-
there's
they
actually
still?
there may be a Dark Crystal one. There is a graphic novel that is somewhat of a Labyrinth sequel.
Okay.
I'm not.
The graphic
It's not
novel,
my favorite.
the graphic
be
novel
honest.
was kind of okay.
It was all right.
They also did one
Was-
for Dark Crystal.
Yeah, it was more of a rehashing of some like it was a way to just kind of shove in like all the lines we liked at a point. Like, oh,
They're just trying to feed me nostalgic
right,
lines.
right.
Yeah.
They're trying to feed me nostalgia, and I'm kind of disappointed that I'm buying it.
Yeah. Give me new content. I don't need nostalgia. I
Well,
can
they have a
rewatch
little
it.
bit new, but it just wasn't as strong as it could have been.
Okay.
And it was also a little frustrating because the cover art was super beautiful and intricate, and then you open it up and you find out they hired a cover artist, and inside it's more there's nothing wrong with it, but it's more simplistic and comic-y.
Okay.
It's not so
The drawing
it's-
style's really
right.
disparate.
It's very very
Okay.
different, and
It's
it
more
kind of
Archie, less monstrous.
yes, exactly.
Okay, so what is your least favorite trope? Like the one you absolutely cannot stand.
We have one there.
Pixies and fairies are not the only fae.
And
There are
they
more.
aren't nice.
They are not nice. No, we're devilish little
Tricksters.
Yeah.
tricksters.
Yeah.
Better word.
Same idea.
Better word.
It's
Also, going back to the trope thing, there needs to be more male fae out there.
oh yeah.
Honestly,
do.
there really does.
There are fae of all types, good and bad, and everywhere in between.
Neutral, yeah.
But for the most part, fae they have their own interests at heart, and
It's never yours.
Even the good ones are not completely altruistic.
No, they're really not. And
Okay, look at Glinda.
yeah,
Glinda
she
technically
still
is a
had
fae.
her own reasons to do everything.
I think even the three fairies from Sleeping Beauty, as much as I love Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather especially,
Yes.
They had
But-
reasons. Oh,
they had
yeah.
their reasons for doing everything,
Right.
and it's just like, it's not completely 100% altruistic. You have to remember, fae, as a whole, you don't
They're
want to
mostly
mess,
about themselves.
you don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
If they
It's
ask
a
you to
bad
do
idea.
something for them, make sure you get all of the details up front
Oh yeah.
And get it in writing.
and get it in writing. Also,
Trope I'm tired of seeing evil stepmother. Can we
Ugh.
cut out the evil stepmothers already?
Right.
How about just regular evil mother? You know, she's like, this is my birth mother and she's
Right.
evil. I don't know.
evil mother, or making the stepmother the good
Yeah.
guy. Like, dad's about to sell daughter off. Stepmother steps in and says, no. No, she's staying here. I need to train her.
That's extremely rare. It is a shame because stepmothers aren't bad
He was
at
all
all.
the step parent hate.
It's step-parent hate. It's awful.
Also, on that same vein, Disney, stop killing off the parents.
Exactly.
Right? People don't need a traumatic past to
This isn't
go
Batman.
on a giant life adventure.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
This
you're gonna
isn't
relate to
Batman.
them more. Be like, my parents weren't killed in an alley. Like, it was like, are all children supposed to relate to? Oh, they have no parents, or like, what? What are
Right?
you trying to say?
And not having parents doesn't excuse further, actions that may not be so great. Like a villain having this familial reason for being horrible. That's not a good reason.
That's ties into what I watched today because I watched American Horror Story Asylum today.
Ooh,
That
I haven't seen it, so.
is a thing.
That
is
is
the thing.
and that very much falls into, well, you're evil because your father was evil.
Yeah. I don't like that. A good subversion of that trope that Disney itself did, Moana. Her parents are like, even at the end of the movie, they're like, oh my god, you did this.
Right?
And-
They're minor spoiler alert, they are not super supportive in the very beginning, but that's because, like most parents, they're doing what they think is best.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And they don't... Wait, is that... Should we put it in the spoiler jar?
it's only if we don't spoiler tag it.
Do it in half. It's there, in the spoiler jar. I guess I'll put the other half in. But yeah, and so, like, her character development doesn't have to hinge on her parents dying, so...
Right.
Yeah, and there's, like, for all we love Elsa and Big Hero 6, there was absolutely zero love interest things going on in there. You had slight bits
what?
here and
That's
there.
that's
Who do what?
No, there was, like,
it's not a romantic focus.
no
yeah.
romance. There was
I
no
think
romance
that's
in there.
that's another thing that we need to cut it out is characters that are there specifically just for a romantic relationship need to stop. People are way more valuable than that.
Yeah.
And having a good character, then you just crush it by saying, oh, they just show up to be
The romantic interest.
the romantic
yeah.
interest for that plot device, and then it's done. And then they go away.
I don't
Crawl
like
back into their cave until we need them again.
I don't like
I mean,
romantic
it's just like with
plot devices.
Brave. With Brave, there were so many
Right.
people vying for her romantic interest. She's like, no, I don't choose any of you.
That was her whole bag. She didn't need one.
Right.
That was the whole
Whatever.
the whole spiel.
Another thing that kind of gets me is Disney going against their own tropes now.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Kind
nice.
of all their own tropes now, because who here has seen Star versus the Forces of Evil?
Nope.
Nope.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's a series.
Next ladies
It's a
watch.
series they do. It's basically about a girl from another dimension that is a princess, and she messes up to the point where they're going to send her to reform school
Ah, jeez.
for wayward princesses, where basically they force the Disney tropes on you.
Oh, gosh.
Now sing to these birds and have these mice make
Actually,
you a dress.
exactly that.
Okay. All right.
Singing to birds class?
Singing
All
to
right.
birds.
101.
Properly holding a teacup class.
When in doubt, pinky out.
Yeah,
Yes.
no,
Nope.
and it's like brainwash. It's like conversion therapy, and it's really bad.
Princess conversion therapy. No, thank you.
You know.
How about not?
That's a nice little segue, though, because we've talked about...
You gonna do conversion therapy on me?
No.
Oh God!
Oh,
Whoa! I didn't sign up for this.
Segue. Sorry.
So, reversing and going against some of your tropes, what are some of the tropes you
me there.
absolutely love seeing subverted in the best ways?
Ooh, me.
Go,
I
go,
really
go.
like seeing when the small people, or maybe the people who aren't super mega giant and buff, are still way strong. Because you don't have to be the Hulk, or the Rock, or any of that, to be strong and super useful in strength-based battle and combat. It's not necessary. You don't have to look like,
You don't
You
have to look like
lift-
Captain America.
yeah, not even that much. You can be anything and still have all these skills. That's one I really quite like. Seeing, suddenly the tiny dwarf is
I mean,
off
you would even
killing
expect
giants.
tiny dwarfs to kill giants. What I wouldn't expect is like the little tiny gnome just being like chopping an orc's head off. And you're like, oh God.
Right?
Whoa!
One of my favorite seeing subverted is kind of a bit of a role reversal. Just like role reversals in general. You think the pretty one is going to be the, oh my gosh, there's a spider. No, she's the one with the broom going, "Wah!"
That's pretty good.
I like seeing that. I also like seeing, and this is going to sound a little strange, I also like seeing gender bent fairy tales. That is my favorite.
It's good.
My favorite like reversal of trope there, because sometimes the prince is the one needs saving, and it's the princess that saves
Anyone
them.
can get themselves into a bad situation, is what we're getting at.
Especially
yeah.
when there's evil magic afoot.
Exactly.
It doesn't care. It doesn't see gender.
Is there one that you
Magic
like?
doesn't
What,
discriminate.
subverted trope?
Yeah,
I don't
subverted trope, or even like a reversal of the trope.
I think you guys. I mean, just subverted tropes in general. I don't have an example of one.
I
Off the top
have
of my
I
head.
have quite a good one. I
ahead,
have
shoot.
been reading. Well, I've been listening to this series, but it is the first volume is NPCs, and the series is called Spells, Swords, and Stealth. It's by Drew Hayes. It starts out kind of groan-worthy, but it's pleasantly surprising in how it takes the tropes and rearranges them.
Nice.
And that's the best way I can put it without giving anything away.
That's why we have these.
You just shush.
She's just excited that we have money now.
I know, we have so much fake money to put in the spoiler jar. Oh.
Yes, I put the money down.
Oh.
Just like, do you?
What?
Actually, I do, and it actually comes from a Disney property because
Oh,
it's kind of the reverse of what you were saying about the small guy being like the real kick butt kind of fighter, and it's the really kind of tough, buff looking giant scary people being like the most kind-hearted people you'll ever
Right.
meet.
Oh, yeah.
And basically that whole scene in Tangled where they go to that bar and they're like, no, we've
Yes!
got dreams too.
I've got a dream.
Got a dream. I've got a dream. I've got a dream.
That was pretty cute.
So
It's
What's going
that
on?
kind
It's
of
one
stuff.
of my favorite things.
I think we are. I think they're warming up over there for,
Might-
for the
might
music, but
pardon the strange noises behind us. We can't control those.
it's,
That's my-
it's the
that's my
dragons
right-
in the back.
It's a
That's
war.
my right home.
Disgruntled dragons.
That's my
What
right
That
home.
is no war horn. Lord of the Rings.
We were speaking about subverting and flipping the scripts
Yes.
and whatnot. You were doing your mage that you were doing doodles with costuming.
right.
Oh,
Inverting
We actually did an
costumes.
exercise in this because we saw a post that had a female spellcaster, all in mystical robes and stuff. She was very well covered, and the little tagline said, "Female spellcasters don't need to dress skimpy."
Yeah.
We're like, what if male spellcasters want to dress skimpy? So we did an exercise, and we all
And it
helped
was
make
amazing.
a character, Gale, who
Gail, yeah.
who-
Gail may become an official mascot of Fanboy TV or of Ladies of Fandom.
I think Gale should, because Gale's wonderful.
Yeah.
Gail's
What
amazing.
were the rules again?
See how many of the rules I can actually say on live television.
Well, you know.
The basics.
Every outfit that Gale had, rule 1, had to have his shoulders, midriff, and at least parts of his thighs bared.
Mm-hmm.
Because.
Yeah.
And had to have skin tight or sheer fabric.
It
What are the
definitely,
other ones?
it definitely reminded me of the whole exercise people were doing with Hawkeye and putting
Right.
him in female comic
Actually,
book character
that
poses.
was one of my favorite things.
Hawkeye
Right.
Was
initiative.
the hey, put Hawkeye in these really promiscuous poses that you
Right.
see on female comic characters
Oh,
all the
That
time.
was the other rule. We had to use for pose references, could only use female pose references for Gale.
suggestive female
Yes.
So it
poses
was
for
Yeah.
him.
they weren't even the suggestive ones.
They were just
Those
regular.
were the normal ones, and it was kind of frustrating because I had to try and fit the male body type to that. And I'm like, this doesn't physically work.
Hey, that's a
Once
good
you change it
artistic
to a male,
exercise.
this doesn't look right anymore.
That's a good artistic exercise for you.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was very difficult, but we
It
had
was
some.
fun.
We had some fun times with
I-
Gale.
Flipping the script.
We love flipping the script. We like flipping the script in general because it's fun. Just be careful with it because sometimes you can flip it over onto your head. So, any last thoughts before I move it on to giving a bit of a hint about what's going on next?
Actually,
Next time.
Actually, talking about that, I think. So skimpy armor isn't a thing. It's not effective. it's not a thing. But all we want,
See that right down there.
right there. But all we want is at least armor equality. If you have skimpy armor for the girls, we want skimpy armor for the guys too. That's all.
Oh yeah,
Just
It-
leave it an option.
Full credit to the artist who drew that, by the way. I will have that up as soon
Yes.
as I'm able to find it because I saw that image once and I can keep finding the image. I just can't find the artist anymore. So that will be found in the YouTube comments below. I will get to those. Somebody just needs to hit me over the head on a day that I'm off and not doing anything else because real life kind of gets in the way sometimes. But that being said, next time, it might say next week on this, it does say next week on the slide.
No
I did-
longer next week.
no longer next week. I kind of copy pasted and forgot to change that. So
So every other Thursday now.
every other Thursday currently. We do have a special guest coming on, Cadence the Snow Leopard. We kind of previewed her on a previous episode. We are going to have her on for a full episode because honestly, this is a community that doesn't get enough love simply because they're an outlier community and they're very, very friendly, the furry community.
they're actually getting better. They're actually getting better treatment now.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they should.
They should. becoming less kind of subversive and more, they're just giant cuddly mascots 90% of the time.
Yep.
I mean, Zootopia's kind of helped out a lot.
Zootopia
Which
has
is
definitely
great.
helped out. So we'll have Cadence on to talk to her. We're working on some other things coming up in the next few weeks that are going to be amazingly fun. Can't wait to kick off season 2 with Cadence. And that being said, this has been an amazing first season. Thank you, Alyssa, Alice, Tessa, and of course myself, Courtney. You will see us next time. Bye.
We only get a